Hey everybody, it is me, and are you Mark Hames or Doulos now?
I am Dulos now. I have rebranded since the spring split ended. Putting away my past shame, my past loss in the platinum division of the spring split, and I'm reborn again as Dulos.
So you've decided every time you lose, or every time you don't win, rather, because you still did fairly well, second place last split. Every time you don't win, you're gonna change your name.
Yes. This will probably be the last name change because I don't plan on participating in the league as a player anymore, but rather as a co-host of the podcast, as a caster and whatnot.
You traitor, but thank God, because we definitely were at a need of more people to cast, and so many people were just saying they can't do it because it's just too much work. But welcome everybody to the Summer Splashdown. It is I, Vid, joined by the newly minted Doulos, his first time on stream since changing his name.
Yeah, and it's good to be here. So let's talk about, week 3 and just recap what all went down this week. And it was pretty exciting this week. So it was a lot of 2-1s. I believe it was only 1-2-0. But which division do you want to start with? Platinum or Diamond?
Let's start with Platinum and go in order. Let me pull up the first match history form for MG Blaze versus Divine Ascension Black. Hopefully match history. Okay, match history isn't borked. We're good. So you can see the champions, the draft here. Of course, that's not in the order that they picked it necessarily. But you can still see the champions that were played. So this was Divine Ascension Black on... Oh, wait a minute. Divine
It should
Ascension Black
be,
on the blue side.
yes. Yeah, so it was
Yeah.
overall just a pretty one-sided game for MG Blaze, which is actually really good for them. They are kind of cementing themselves as a middle of the pack team right now. They have the win over Divine Ascension Black now, and then they have the win last week against Hidden Weave Village, but they did take the L in the first week against Glacial Rising Eagles.
Yeah, and that was kind of the upset there because obviously we didn't know anything about Glacial Rising Eagles. And since then, Glacial Rising Eagles currently at a... Oh, what are they at?
They're at
Uh,
1-2.
yeah, 1-2, so they lost this week against Hidden Weeb Village of all people. But currently 1-2 in that. It was surprising to see them beat another new team that we didn't really know much about.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like both these teams are fairly well matched too, because in the first week there was a 2-1 victory for Glacial Rising, and since then they have gone 0-2. They both of their series that they played in both week 2 and 3 for Glacial Rising Eagles were 1-2, so they did pick up one win out of the series, but overall weren't able to clutch it out. And I will talk more about them when we recap their match against Hidden Wheat Village, though. So game 2 of MG Blaze versus Divine Ascension Black. Divine Ascension Black actually came back after a really one-sided victory in game 1. It seemed to be kind of one-sided in the second game as well, but they've had a really nice turnaround after a Baron throw by MG Blaze, and they had a pretty solid lead after that.
Yeah, the interesting thing about this series for me that I knew the Divine Ascension Black lost, but maybe one of their say excuses is that JDK switched to support this week. I'm not sure if that's a permanent thing or if it is temporary, but he seemed to be kind of getting his sea legs in game 1. Game 2, obviously, you see here, he was 2-5-30 on Braum. It seemed to work a lot better between him and his ADC, and just in general, it seemed like Divine Ascension Black was kind of firing on all cylinders in game 2 here. And as you said, of course, it was this Baron fight where it was a 4-for-2, and Divine Ascension Black got their hands on the Baron, and then it just started snowballing out of control. They got the Cloud Soul, and were able to keep the pressure on until the end of the game there.
And something to note in this game specifically is that it went so late, right? It was a 44, 45 minute game. And I have to wonder, like, is Divine Ascension Black just a late game team? Once they make it past that 30-minute mark, do they really come online? And do they just need to kind of last until then? Because a lot of these losses for them have been pretty snowbally victories, right? They've lost the early game pretty hard. Things have snowballed out of control, and they weren't able to pick it back up in the mid game. But this is the one kind of small sample size, but we can kind of see what their win condition might be, and I guess overall as a team.
Yeah, I mean, of course they had the Ornn. Their Diana in the mid lane in game two was such a great thing keeping them in the game, especially while they were falling behind here up until about the 25-minute mark. She was consistently finding solo kills on the Corki. Was even beating Lee Sin and Caitlyn Morgana, and and of course, like, as you said, this game went super late. It was a 45-minute game, which um, I don't think there's been another one quite this long, but it gave time for Divine Ascension Black to really get into these big team fights, and you can see the big team fights where a lot of people died here on this gold ticker. It was Divine Ascension Black back to back to back to back, and then the final fight. But then on to game three, where eventually MG Blaze did win the series.
Yeah,
Again,
and it seems like, yeah, in game three, Divine Ascension Black was able to kind of stay in for a lot of the early game, right? We can see in this gold lead here, it doesn't really start swinging in the favor of MG Blaze until about the mid game. And even it was pretty early mid game at that point, but it seemed like they were able to stabilize their early game. You can see that they got both Rift Heralds, they got the early dragons as well, but they just weren't able to kind of match the team fight prowess of MG Blaze in this game. And you can kind of just see from the compositions that MG Blaze has a little bit easier composition to play. They have the CC on the Varus. They have the, just a lot of engage from the Leona, Silas, Jarvan, and they have the pick potential with the Syndra there. And it just doesn't seem like the composition of Divine Ascension Black was able to match, especially with the set support. And set support isn't it's not a very popular pick anymore after set got banned. I'm sorry, after set got nerfed and into Leona, it is kind of a rougher matchup.
yeah, he didn't do too hot, the 5 and 11 score that you see there, but I think the other big one that kind of put the nail in Divine Ascension Black's coffin was the Sylas versus Renekton matchup. Sylas picked up a lot of kills in the early game, and not to mention the fact that Renekton naturally scales off as a much more early mid game focused champion, while Sylas just keeps getting stronger with his utility, especially when he's playing into ults like Glacial Prison and Showstopper that are all able to just pick up a tank, catch a squishy, basically do whatever you need to do when the situation calls for it.
It's extremely amusing that we bring this attention to the Sylas in the top lane, right? Because if you look at the farm at the end of the game, it's 130 creep score to the Renekton's 205. So it's clear that there was kind of a discrepancy in how these players want to play the game. And in this way, the Sylas is able to get unlocked. He got some of those early kills, and it actually got him out of the lane for that Renekton. Renekton being one of those lane bullies. He kind of needs the enemy top laner to stay in lane and get that lead, but he was able to find a CS lead, but just wasn't able to convert to anything.
Yeah, so MG Blaze, their next week's schedule is against GSM, and GSM has taken a little bit of a beating over the last couple of weeks. They lost a Return to the Middle Sticks this week, and they barely beat Glacial Rising Eagles last week. So it'll be interesting to see. I think I had MG Blaze at 3rd or 4th in my predictions, and right now it seems like they're a very middle-of-the-pack team, but are they a middle-of-the-pack team that's going to get 2-1 in like a close set of games, or are they, is there a drop-off between, second, third place team and MG Blaze?
And you have to wonder because it seems like Return of the Millsticks and GSM were the front runners for this Platinum division, right? We have the super strong rosters on both of them, and kind of these rosters we aren't familiar with through MG Blaze and Glacial Rising Eagles, who are more middle of the pack teams, right? But here we can see maybe MG Blaze get tested a little bit. We can see that GSM got the 2-1 victory over GRE in week 2, and maybe a similar thing will happen to MG Blaze. If they can pick up just one win, then we can kind of cement them about the same level as Glacial Rising Eagles. But if they somehow beat GSM, then I feel like all of our predictions for the split might just topple, because GSM, we are really expecting to either win the split or get second place, right? They have super strong mid jungle duo borrowed from Sensei squad of Water Bear and Midnight Slushy, who's kind of just been rolling over the entire GRLCS whenever they're together.
Yeah, and I think the surprising thing, specifically addressing my prediction, I thought they would be first. That my weirdness there, the surprising part was that it doesn't really seem like Midnight Slushy and Water Bear are doing that rolling anymore, and I don't know if that's just kind of it's summer and everyone's relaxing a little bit, or if he's they're taking some load off of themselves in this mid season, especially with Valorant coming out and lockdown having everyone in a tizzy, and of course graduation is a big one. I know Water Bear's graduating, but uh, it's kind of leaving this little power vacuum at the top, and it means that every week is a little more important for us to see in order to formulate these big predictions.
Yeah, and we have to wonder who else is going to be able to challenge Return of the Middlesticks, right? Because we thought it was going to be GSM. We thought GSM would actually beat them here, but now Return of the Middlesticks finds a 2-1 victory, and it doesn't really seem like any of the other teams will be playing towards that Return of the Middlesticks level, you know?
Yeah, so since you've mentioned it, let's hop into the Return of the Middlesticks GSM series, which was casted when it was played on Thursday night, I believe. But of course, if you didn't watch it, this is what we're here for.
All right, so in game one, it's a lot of normal picks from both sides. It's a lot of comfort picks, especially. Jack loves Lamp getting his hands on his pocket pick Darius into the tank matchup. We know he just loves to play that one Midnight Slushy getting the Cassiopeia as well as Water Bear getting his Olaf. So a lot of just comfort picks for GSM, and I believe that's really what won them the game here, just having that comfort. Because even Ari Panda got her hands on the Morgana and into the Ashe Nautilus, it's a pretty favorable matchup.
And even if you're looking at the gold graph here and kind of scratching your head, wondering what happened to Return of the or wondering what happened to Return of the Middlesticks, that they were just keeping so close for so long and then fell off, it's because of the 7, 4, and 6 Nautilus. Black Salt picked up so many kills in the early game that basically kept Karista from scaling and getting gold and getting items. So that was, in no small part, I would say, part of the loss here for Return of the Middlesticks. It was just some unfortunate juggling of kills, and not to mention Jack Love's Lamp did pop off fairly hard on the Darius, got a couple of solo kills on Vbon on his Ornn.
Yeah, and it was a big kind of underperformance from Vbon this game on the Ornn. It's one of his best picks, but he just couldn't find anything into Jack Love's Lamp's Darius, and you can see the composition of Return of the Middlesticks here. They have, those 3 damage sources that are going to be scaling this entire time, but they need those 2 frontline tanks to be able to peel the entire time. The problem is, once the Ornn doesn't really come online that early, we can see he only completed 2 items by the end of the game at 36 minutes. You're really going to be struggling. You only got 2 items worth of resistances. You can see he's picking up the Bramble Vest and the Spectre's Cowl as well to kind of stop this hybrid damage from the Cassio and the Varus coming together. But in the end, he just wasn't tanky enough to be able to withstand and kind of peel for the rest of his team.
Yeah, it was just a lot of unfortunate happenstances, as you said, a weird game, uncharacteristic game from Vbon. But then game 2 kind of... It had me wondering for a second. Game 1 had me wondering for a second, like, wow, is GSM gonna, like, put Return of the Middlesticks in the dirt? And, yeah, Game 2 answered that question with a resounding no. A 25-minute win with a 21-kill gap, and, Ikato didn't die.
Yeah, it was a pretty immaculate game from all members of Return of the Middlesticks, but my biggest question mark for this game is the draft from GSM, right? You have the Ornn, Trundle, Azir, which is pretty standard for, Jack Love's Lamp, Water Bear, and Midnight Slushy, respectively. But for the bot lane of GSM, you have Kog'Maw, Karma. And it's not a great matchup in the Ashe Braum, especially because they have so much engage potential, especially once Ashe hits level 6. And Karma can't really peel all that well, right? If the Enchanted Crystal Arrow is going to land onto the Kog'Maw, the Karma can only do so much to just delay the inevitability of Kog'Maw just getting popped immediately. And you need a lot of scaling time on that Kog'Maw as well. We can see how far behind the bot lane of GSM fell. With Kog'Maw only having that Blade of the Rune King, still working on that Guinsoo's by the end of the game. And things just snowballed out of control. They weren't able to kind of just let the game slow down and scale up because of the high pressure gameplay of Return of the Middlesticks.
Yeah, and I do remember the draft for this one very specifically because on the blue side, GSM locked it Cog Karma as blue 2 and blue 3, and I was so confused here. I was like, okay, so they're obviously doing a Juggernaut comp. This Karma is kind of a misdirect because they picked the Ornn first. So the Karma's a misdirect. They're trying to get Lulu, but they're trying to bait them out into not banning supports. And then when Return of the Middlesticks didn't ban any more supports, I was like, oh, they just played right into their hands. They're gonna put Midnight Slushy on the Karma. They're gonna pick the Lulu, and then they're gonna give a counter pick or like a strong counter pick in the jungle, strong early game jungler. And then they didn't do those things, and I was very confused. And we all saw how it turned out. I think Kog'Maw died. Yeah, I mean Kog'Maw died for the first time at 5 minutes. Karma had died 2 minutes earlier, and that's that's not a good thing when you need Kog'Maw to scale to 3 items before he can win fights.
Yeah, and even before 10 minutes in the game, the bot lane died a collective 4 times. No, it was pretty rough, honestly. Not even before 10 minutes. Like at the 10-minute mark, you can see Karma died about 3 times. Kog'Maw died twice, so it's a 0-5 bot lane by 10 minutes into an Ashe Braum, and then they hit level 6, and then you're kind of like, oh, what are we gonna do now? Because now they just focus the bot lane even harder.
Yeah, that was you get to level 6, you're like, wait a minute, you weren't playing at full power in this lane yet? So that was game 2, and then game 3, significantly better draft, significantly better mental for GSM, but they still weren't able to pull it out by the end, and you can see that gold advantage. It's kind of a heartbreaker here around the Baron.
Yeah, most definitely. It was nice to see Midnight Slushy popping off on this Rise, right? He doesn't play the Rise too often, but he is one of those, one of the best control mage players in the Platinum division, if not the league even. But he was really trying hard to carry, but he just could not find it. It was very difficult for Boosted Asian to kind of find his footing in the mid game as well. He only ended up picking the IE and the Storm Razor up at the end of the game, and he was really struggling to output some of this damage.
I think that was kind of the failing point for GSM here. They were doing so well through so much of the game, and you can see, like, obviously their win conditions are let their lanes scale, let their lanes get to that 3-4 item point. Ornn's online, he's given people the free 1,000 gold pickups on the items, and unfortunately they basically had 2 of their 3 win conditions, and Caitlyn being that 3rd win condition was like, sorry, no can do. There's not enough DPS on the GSM side to beat the Gnar, the Zac, and the Braum, while Corki and Ashe are just obviously outputting tons of damage here.
Yeah, and it's a lot of failure on Waterbear's part to output some of this damage, right? He only has the Black Cleaver. By the end of the game, he dealt 9k damage over the entire course of the game, and they really pick that Grace specifically so that way they can have enough damage to cut through the front line of Return of the Middlesticks. And once it hit towards that, you can see about that 30-minute mark, the Graves just completely fell off. Rise was keeping them mostly in the game at that point, but Graves just falling so far behind compared to the Zac, and Zac starting to come online, starting to scale, and he just becomes so tanky. You can already see, too, that Ikato picked up the Liandry's Torment, trying to output some more damage, and he was largely successful in that. He almost doubled the damage of Waterbear on the Graves, and you have to wonder, will GSM end up picking this Graves again? Because it seemed pretty meh, if you ask me.
It was definitely a question mark. I think Sensei Squad played the Graves a few times as a counter pick, and I think they played it mostly mid, from what I remember. But the one time that they played it in the jungle, it worked, but not in the way that keeps you convinced that, like, oh yeah, Graves is a good pick in certain situations. Because I think there were some other champions that could have done that. And especially, I'm going to pivot from Waterbear to Boosted Asian, the Morellonomicon. I think Rexco Dragon and I were both like, yeah, the Morellonomicon makes sense. You've got Zac healing, you've got Ashe healing, um, and it makes logical sense. Is like, yeah, you have two people who heal a significant amount. You want to cut that down, but then by that you know by that time when the gold lead started stagnating for GSM, it felt a lot more like, well, did you need to pick up the Morellonomicon when you could have picked up, say, Azanya's Hourglass? Something that actually keeps you alive through this hard engage because all of Return of the Middlesticks is gunning for you.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, maybe a Banshee's Veil, maybe anything that provides some resistances, or even getting that Rabadon's a little bit earlier. He was largely carrying this mid game. If he was able to get that Rabadon's power spike just that much earlier, then I feel like GSM might have had enough damage to actually close this one out.
Yeah, but they weren't able to close it out. Unfortunately, they do fall to 2-1, so they're no longer undefeated. But that is a story for next week to see if they continue on their path of L's on the board. And actually, Twitch chat is mentioned something about Soraka top, which makes me want to pivot to the Hidden Weeb Village versus Glacial Rising Eagles game, because that actually had a Soraka top in Game 3. We'll start with Game 1, obviously, because, I'm not completely insane. I'm just mostly insane. And this was Hidden Weeb Village's first win this match. They did lose Game 1, but they won the next two.
Yeah, so we can talk about, Game 1, and it was pretty snowbally. After looking at Game 1, you have to wonder, like, can Weeb Village even win a single game, the split, right? Because this Game 1 was so snowballing, and then they just had no way into the game, right? And it looks like they had a pretty easy to execute comp other than the Varicena bot lane, which I have a lot of questions about, but it's clear that they realized the mistake that they made because they didn't draft it again for the rest of the series, I don't believe.
I don't believe so. I don't like. I am never going to vote for a double ADC bot lane, especially when it's Senna and another ADC. But I think against Sivir Soraka, the fact that they don't have any hard engage or hard CC aside from that Soraka E, I think it's almost what do you call it? You can apologize for it. It makes almost sense. A couple of roster changes for Hidden Weeb Village, though. They replaced their mid laner, moved Sopachi, their former mid laner, to top lane, and then replaced their jungle as well. And I have to say, for as much as I flamed Sopachi last week for kind of being the reason that they lost both games, he did really well in top lane this game. He got 2 solo kills, I believe, on Poppy. Unfortunately, his team wasn't able to translate it, but I think it was a much better showing than like going 0-7 in one game, which he did last week.
I mean, yeah, we're for sure. It's interesting because he's playing a lot of picks, right? That are it's kind of that bruiser style. It's not necessarily like a full commit to the top lane role and not so far away from the mid lane role. It's a little bit of that hybrid. So something he's a little bit more comfortable on. And I feel like in this specific top lane matchup, he had one of the easier top lane matchups in the league in terms of just player versus player, right? I can't remember who the Glacial Rising Eagles top laner is, but I remember kind of just looking through his match history, kind of looking at a little bit. It seemed like it was an even matchup for Sopachi, if not even in his favor.
Yeah, Faulted is the GRE top laner, and yeah, I am kind of being a Sopachi apologist here. He did have a fairly favorable matchup, and unfortunately wasn't able to capitalize on these solo kills. Like, I think that's the mark of a top laner who like knows how to play the Darius into Poppy, or a bully into tank matchup, is the guy who will not only get a solo kill or multiple kills with ganks, but then will proceed to turn it into, oh yeah, suddenly the dude's like 8-2, and he's taken 2 turrets, and there's really no one that can stop him because he's just been killing people on repeat. That's the standout game for a good bully top laner.
Yeah, most definitely. And we move on to game two, right, where Hidden Weave Village is able to find their first win here. And they actually played some interesting picks. We have the Kayn, the Shyvana, the Corki, Kaisa, and Soraka.
Yeah, I liked the Shyvana. I like seeing her in competitive play because she feels like a very solo queue jungler, especially the AP build, which is basically Fire Breather Shyvana. But both sides kind of went for scaling a little more rather than just fully saying we have to win the early game. I mean, the Jarvan is definitely a tech for Glacial Rising on the like we need to make sure that we have pressure early. But Gangplank Xayah versus Kaisa Corki, you're looking at a lot more like we're gonna win this in the long run. Uh, and Psycho does say Raka was first pick all 3 games.
Yeah, I definitely was looking at that, how contested of a pick Soraka was in all three of these games because it had to have been first picked on blue side each game because you can see game one, they have the Soraka, game two, the other side has the Soraka, and then another Soraka, I assume was the first pick and then pivoted into the top lane. But back to this specific game right here because the composition of Hidden Weave Village just doesn't have a clear. I guess it's not a super clear win condition. It's just kind of like if you're better than the enemy team, then you're obviously going to win because you have a lot of snowbally solo queue kind of picks. And then you have the scaling to ensure that. But on the other side, you have a very balanced composition, right? You have the Zyricon plus the Jarvan Orianna and the Gangplank to help. This is a very standard composition. I'm very surprised to see that GRE wasn't able to pull it off.
Yeah, it was interesting to me because at first, when I didn't really notice the Jarvan, I was kind of thinking like this is just a whoever does more damage faster wins. But then the Jarvan started moving around the map and was able to start like getting some things done. Duddy Brains, I think he's a sleeper pick for one of the best new people in the league. He has been playing really well. He's gotten a couple of really good steals. That he started the bot lane snowballing a little bit for GRE against Psycho. I think he killed the Soraka 2 or 3 times or assisted in killing them. And you can see even after they lost that first dragon here at 5 minutes, basically on spawn, he was able to bring it back. Something that I have noticed recently in GRLCS is that whoever gets the first Drake will pretty much always get the second Drake. And I don't know if that was just a this week thing, but I'm pretty sure almost every game that I watched today was like, you get the first Drake, 6 minutes later you get the second Drake.
Yeah, I mean that it was not the case for this game two match, but definitely was the case for the game three match. But it seemed like it came down to a matter of late game, right? It hit the 30-minute mark, then there was a big Baron fight, and it completely swung the game in the favor of Hidden Weave Village, and it was a pretty easy closeout. But in the third game, it seemed like a matter of early game, mid game, because you can see that GRE had a lot of early game control, right? They were able to pick up the early dragons, pick up the early objectives, but all of a sudden, just everything went the way of Hidden Weave Village, and it seemed like a lot of just out macroing, right? This was a pretty low kill game in terms of GRLCS, 16-13, and you can see that Hidden Weave Village actually was in a kill deficit, 3 kills down whenever they won the game as well.
Yeah, so the level 1, you can actually see at, 25 seconds, the first kills go over. Hidden Weeb Village tried to go for their classic cheeky level 1 invade, but this Taric here for Glacial Rising was just disaster. GRE got 4 kills in the first minute of the game, and I thought it was like, wait, how does Hidden Wave Village possibly win this? Did they accidentally click that they won and they were just turning in the post-match form that they lost? But no. Big shout out to Sapachi here. The Irelia to counterpick the Soraka was literally the only thing that saved this game for the first 15 minutes here for Hidden Weave Village. Of course, he ended up 6-6, so he wasn't able to turn that into more stuff for himself, but it allowed his team time to recover from that disastrous level 1 invade.
Yeah, and it seems like the game was a matter of picks, right? We can see just very small kills across the board, and every single time it seemed like Sapachi was involved in some sort. Sapachi either getting objective on the other side of the map and splitting the focus of GRE, or actually just getting the pick by himself. And it was a very successful game overall, I would say, for Hidden Wee Village, and definitely gives me hope for their future games. The problem is, how permanent is this roster change? Having Sabachi back in the top lane, switching out their jungler. It doesn't seem very sustainable, but they could definitely prove me wrong.
Yeah, I was talking to Psycho actually earlier this week, and I said something about the jungle play. And he said, "Oh, well, don't worry. Jungle's going to be a revolving door for the next couple of weeks." So this series, don't get me wrong, it looked good for Hidden Weeb Village because they took games and they won the series, but it was also very sloppy. And I'm thinking that this team may or may not live or die by their autofilled jungler.
Yeah, we'll definitely see in the future and see how their jungler matches up against some of the other junglers, right? Because it seems like it was a starting player change and not a just like a sub. So, I'm pretty hopeful though. But I do like seeing the Shyvana in GRLCS. I don't think it's a pick we see very often at all, like we've talked about, and it's always exciting getting some new flavor in the GRLCS meta.
Yeah, I mean, variety's the spice of life. So, with that in mind, let's head over to our fourth and final platinum match: Bucky's Amusement Park versus Business Time. Sorry, the schedule or the website, the scheduling says that it was a 2-0 for Bucky's Amusement Park. It was actually a 2-1 for Bucky's. I think Business Time won game one. So this is the one that they won. And you can see it was somewhat of a comeback, somewhat of an even game.
Yeah, and right off the bat, we see the recently reworked Volibear, right? And very exciting to see Business Time pull that out and be successful with it. But it didn't seem like it had a huge impact on the game overall. He definitely had the gold lead over the Kled, by about 2K, but it seemed like a mid difference if you look at it, a 15.3K on the Diana versus a 9.1 for the Mordekaiser.
Yeah, that also, I did have to question the Morgana jungle as well. It theoretically it works, and they've been buffing Morgana jungle a lot in order to get her played at low elo, but he got executed at Raptors. I'm not sure if it even shows up on the chart. It doesn't, but Morgana did get executed at Raptors, and kind of brought it back by going top lane and starting to get some kills, finding some picks in the jungle. I'm just not sure how well it works against Lee Sin. It didn't look super good against Lee Sin, and part of that was the fact that Diana was just able to destroy Mordekaiser 1v1 on repeat, and you can't really do anything about that as Morgana. Diana just moves too fast and does too much damage to you.
Yeah, most definitely. And just the mid jungle duo, I feel like for Business Time here, really cemented the draft for them. It cemented the draft win, in my opinion. Mordekaiser and Morgana isn't that bad. It's definitely viable. But when you're playing into Elise and Diana, the game becomes super, super difficult because if the other mid jungle duo even has half a brain, they're going to be able to run over you every single time.
Yeah, I think it's Morgana's situational. You just can't do it into someone like Lee Sin who does a bunch of damage and jumps around you and out jungles you early anyways. Um, so Bucky's Amusement Park did take a page from that and actually learn something and redrafted a little bit smarter. They picked up Hecarim this time instead of Morgana, and as you can see, he did 14, 4, and 8, way better than the Morgana, way better at getting picks, which was a big thing here.
Yeah, and you can see he went extremely aggressive as well, picking up the Ignite instead of a Flash or a Ghost for the Hecarim. So pretty, it's not super standard, but playing into a Nocturne, someone who isn't going to be as strong early as the Hecarim, it's definitely something that's worthwhile investing into. The composition of Business Time, I don't really like here because they have a kind of like go in comp, right? They have the Nocturne Galio combo, and then a lot of utility, but I feel like they just lack a lot of damage. And you can see how tanky the composition um, of Bucky's Abusement Park was, because they have the Aatrox, Hecarim, Scion as the front line, and then you have the Morgana peeling for them. But the problem is, if you don't have enough DPS in this composition, how are you going to cut through all of that?
Yeah, that was a big thing. The Ashe, I think, was a super problematic pick here for business time, just because she is a very supportive ADC. Kai'Sa does a lot of damage, and if you could have replaced the Ashe with something like Aphelios or Caitlyn or something that does fairly similar in terms of playstyle, but a lot different in terms of your output damage in these team fights after your team initiates. One shout out I do have to make is Bucky's Abusement Park's mid laner, neutral laner. He roamed bot with his Scion ultimate basically on cooldown the moment that he got 6, and then every time thereafter, in order to get Kai'Sa rolling into the 11 and 2 that she got.
Yeah, and he was super, super successful, as you can see, a 12.1k to the 8.4k difference. It was definitely, it was a good win condition for them to play through, getting their bot lane ahead. And you can see in the game 3 as well, that's kind of what they did. They get the bot lane ahead. It was a double ADC bot lane, but this time it was an Ashe Senna. So Ashe has just a little bit more utility than the Varus Senna we saw earlier. So although I don't agree with it, it is a little bit better. And into Caitlyn Morgana is quite a surprise to see them lose, because Caitlyn Morgana should win that one in theory.
Yeah, theoretically, it should very much almost always go Caitlyn Morgana. It's just too easy to pick off Ashe and Senna, both of whom don't really have mobility at all. But this was another one, the Scion mid, and then Rek'Sai. I mean, Array was 14, 9, and 15. Both of them were just going bot on repeat. They knew that one of their late game win conditions was get both of your ADCs super strong, get both of them with all of their souls and all of their gold. And it paid off, because it seems like Business Time's bot lane is a fairly weak point. Kilgar's champion pool is kind of weird. I mean, he played Fiddlesticks 2 out of 3 games this series, and OSU Alarm, I think he's coming back off of a long hiatus, so really it was just Bucky's Abusement Park identifying the weaknesses and just saying, we'll abuse them.
Yeah, and definitely well played, because after last week they went 0-2 against Return of the Millsticks. They definitely needed this to kind of put themselves back in the running for being that middle of the pack team, if not towards the upper end, right? They're 2-1 at this point, but they have faced some easier teams, right? They faced 2 teams that are at the bottom of the standings right now, both Business Time and Divine Ascension Black. So those were both 2-0s for them, though. I'm sorry, Business Time was a 2-1, but 2-0 over Divine Ascension Black is pretty good for them. And I can see that they are decent at identifying win conditions, which is something that a lot of the Platinum Division teams in the GRLCS struggle with, is identifying those win conditions. And if they seem to be able to play through their bot lane very often, kind of draft in a similar way, getting the Scion mid or any other mid that can roam effectively, they might be able to pick up some more wins in the league.
Yeah, next week will be a pretty good metric for them. They play against Glacial Rising Eagles, so Glacial Rising, of course, is also 1-2, which, yeah, they're 1-2, which is kind of in the same range as MGB. So I'm looking forward to seeing how these 3 teams end up stacking up against each other, MG Blaze, Glacial Rising, and Bucky's Abusement Park, because all 3 of them were our complete wild cards coming in, and it seems like they're all stacking up fairly nicely next to each other. So next couple of weeks should show us how our newbie teams are going to do. All in the middle of the pack, apparently.
Yeah, all in the middle of the pack, and it's quite surprising, because we have these returning teams that didn't do super well in the past, and we maybe expected them to. I guess we expected them maybe overperform, because we were like, hey, we know these guys, we know how they play. They could probably take some wins off of the the lower to mid range teams, but they fall to the bottom. Both all 3, Business Time, Hidden Weave Village, and the Divine Ascension, just kind of struggling in this early part of the split.
Yeah, so that is how Platinum shook out. Next week, our Platinum matches of note, probably going to be obviously Glacial Rising versus Bucky's Abusement Park, and then the sleeper one would probably be Divine Ascension Black versus Hidden Weeb Village, just to make sure that Hidden Weeb Village isn't just having a really good week 3.
Yeah, and that will be pretty exciting to see. I'm definitely looking forward to see the GRE versus Bucky's Amusement Park to kind of create that separation towards the middle of the pack, and maybe Bucky's Amusement Park could be a solid third place team. If they are able to beat both MG Blaze and Glacial Rising Eagles, then they really cement themselves at the same level of GSM. And at that point, it's are they better than GSM, who we expected to take first place?
Yeah, you're fighting the 2-3 spot, and I believe their game against GSM. Yeah, that's week 6, so we'll probably be talking about that not next week, but in 2 weeks, when that will be the next match to come up. But now, with Platinum kind of squared away for this week, I think we're going to head over to Diamond to talk about the 3 matches there. You want to start with Return of the Middle Sticks versus Sensei Squad?
Yeah, so Sensei Squad made a player change in. Oh no, one of their players made a name change, but it kind of gave them a buff because they actually picked up a win against Return of the Millsticks, which was something super surprising because Return of the Millsticks is towards that upper end of our diamond standings, and Sensei Squad is dead last right now. They weren't able to find any series wins, but they were able to pick up a win against MG Eclipse last week, and then this week against Return of the Middlesticks.
Yeah, I was impressed by Sensei Squad's play. The Cassidon into Pike matchup I thought was going to go absolutely horrifically, but Dat Dang Dude on the Pike mid, of course it's not necessarily a meta pick, but being an assassin and a fairly early game oriented assassin versus one of the hardest scaling mages in the game, I expected him to be able to beat up on the Cassidon a little bit more. He didn't. Cassidon ended up 14-3, and then it was kind of the double whammy, the 1-2 punch, where the top laner of Sensei Squad, I can't remember his name, but he solo killed Liposuction Lane, which isn't really expected in this kind of tank versus tank matchup where Ornn does do fairly well with all of the percent health damage that he has against tanks. Wait. No, sorry. My notes are wrong. That says 6... Yeah, solo kill by Liposuction Lane. Never mind. This may be the wrong game.
Solo kill by Liposuction Lane. It was very early in the game as well. It's around that 6-7 minute mark where he's able to find that solo kill. Liposuction Lane is one of probably our strongest laners in the Diamond Division. He's a very solid all-around top laner. He plays lane well, and then he plays the team fights very well. So having that solo kill isn't a surprise at all, but it was actually Poppy's only death this game, which is interesting to note.
Yeah, I mean, the Poppy then proceeded to do very well into the mid-game, and I think this was kind of off of the back of Cassidon being able to scale really well without being punished super hard. And the gold graph is fairly conclusive that the moment the Cassidon started getting, he reached 20 minutes, and that's when Sensei Squad began to pull ahead in a fairly big way.
Yeah, they were able to find a lot of the teamfight victories, and off of that, more of the objectives. They actually picked up every single dragon that game as well, and completely shut out Return of the Millsticks in terms of just objectives this game. Return of the Millsticks only able to take 3 towers all game, and really only able to find one big team fight for them, but it still went in Sensei Squad's favor.
Yeah. Then in game 2, that's where Return of the Middlesticks kind of found their bearings, shook off that game 1 fog, and I swear to God, guys, I'm not insane and I'm not biased against Liposuction Lane. He did get solo killed and didn't do super hot in the early game here.
Yeah, he did get solo kill, and that one was a really early solo kill too. It's about that 2-3 minute mark, and it let Sensei Squad kind of get a small gold lead in the early game, as we can see. But after a really big skirmish, after jungler of Return of the Millsticks picking up 4 kills, the game completely went in Return of the Millsticks' favor. It doesn't seem like Sensei Squad was able to reel it back in at all.
Yeah, I mean, Tendies has been pegged as kind of the carryingest player of Return of the Middle Sticks. If he gets ahead early, that's generally where the game ends. Unless, of course, he loses his mind and does something like the Dog with Hat Gang series last split. But in this case, he was playing Rengar, and if Rengar is good at doing something, it's killing people on repeat without them being able to do much against it. Lee Sin died a bunch to it. He killed Poppy a couple times top lane because of it, and all of that extra pressure, was just so much. It was so much easier for the scaling members of Return to the Middle Sticks, namely the Orianna and Misfortune, to just kind of keep their heads down and do things against the also scaling members of Sensei Squad of Galio and Sivir.
Yeah, and the Rengar really was able to carry them through that kind of mid-game lull for the Orianna Misfortune, because they do need a little bit of time to scale up in a way, to be able to find those bigger team fights in. Rengar was able to kind of facilitate that for them. And I really like the composition that Return the Middle Sticks has drafted here. It's very characteristic of them, putting liposuction lane on a tank, having a tank support, and then playing kind of a utility mid, and then having the carry from Tendies. And just the standard ADC, this is the bread and butter Return of the Middle Six comp. I expect to see this a lot more to come in the coming weeks.
Yeah, it is always good to see them return to their classic form. But now, the third game, you're going to look at the draft and you're just going to say, okay, that's how that went.
Yeah, we did see the Kog'Maw Lulu for Sensei Squad. It's tough to say, like, if Kog'Maw Lulu would even be good, because they have Maokai Echo and Alistar potentially diving you, right? And then you have the Varus for the utility. It's very hard to keep that Kog'Maw alive. And there's not necessarily enough protection for him. It's not a full commit to the Juggermaw comp. It's just the Kog'Maw Lulu right there, which is extremely good synergy. But since they fell behind early, it was just a struggle for them to get back into this game.
Yeah, when I was taking notes for this game, I run through the games at high speed, but the first thing I wrote before the game had really even begun, like before laning phase had gotten in, Sensei Squad ran Cog Lulu against Poke Varus and Alistar, so it went about as well as you could expect. And you can see that here, the gold advantage. I mean, Kog'Maw did get one kill early, but he proceeded to die 3 more times in the next 2 minutes. It just didn't go super hot for them, and that ended up being kind of a black mark on Sensei Squad's record there for the rest of the game, and allowed the mid Ezreal and then Echo to just kind of roam free, with Varus picking up a lot of kills. Poke Varus does really well against a squishy worm ADC.
Yeah, most definitely. And I feel like the theme overall of the series is kind of just Tendies outperforming the jungler for Sensei Squad, which let me get his name real quick. Hate is Heavy, who he recently changed his name, but he wasn't able to really find anything for his team, and he was playing a lot of these early game junglers, right? We see the Lee Sin in games 2 and 3, and then Xin Shao in game 1, and he's just kind of there, he's not a jungler who's going to have a big impact on the game. It's kind of holding Sensei Squad back in a way, because it seems like the other members of Sensei Squad are somewhat pulling their own weight, but they're severely lacking in this jungle role, and it's costing them a lot of these wins.
Yeah, and that goes double when it's someone like Tendies who fairly frequently will take over the game on his own against a good jungler. If you're fairly underperforming on early game junglers, you really have no chance against someone who's as dominant on off-meta junglers as Tendies 2 is. I mean, hell, he plays Nidalee, and he kicks the living hell out of every other team.
Yeah, but definitely congrats to Return of the Middle Sticks for this win over Sensei Squad. Even though it was a 2-1, we definitely expected Return of the Middle Sticks to take this win. If not 2-0, then 2-1 is it's fairly acceptable. But it makes me worry for them just a little bit, because we expected them to maybe contend with the top half of the standings, or even contend with the first and second place. But it seems like they might end up falling to third and fourth place alongside GSM.
Yeah. So next up, you want to do XD or Stuck Gaming?
Let's do Stuck Gaming. I'm a pretty big fan of Stuck Gaming, formerly Dog with Hat Gang, right? And they are playing extremely well this split.
Yeah, you could say that. I mean, this game 17-2. There was a 16k gold lead when they ended at 25 minutes, and you can just see from the gold graph, it wasn't close. It wasn't close, really.
Yeah, just want to talk about a little bit the Senna Gragas bot lane that they drafted here because it's not something we see every day, right? Having the Senna plus a Gragas. But it was really successful for Stuck Gaming here. You can see that Gragas picked up the early Proto Belt, had the Morello Nomicon as well, and just went the full AP Gragas and just helped his team make the engages that they were kind of lacking a little bit. Because if not any engage support there, then they only have the Lee Sin as the engage. So really great job by the draft of Stuck Gaming, finding a creative way to kind of pair the Senna with something that's going to provide you some utility and damage as well.
Yeah, that was what I had down in my notes. This felt like a very characteristic Stuck Gaming draft. They had two scaling lanes, Cassiopeia Senna. They had their lane bully for parry difference, and then you make sure that your jungler and support are two people who can either engage or really peel away if something starts going out of hand. And that's something that I really like about Gragas too, just as a champion, especially into this composition. With the exception of Gnar, you can just throw away the rest of the team. You just throw away the rest of the team with your ultimate, and there's not really much that they can do to try and re-engage on you.
Yeah, most definitely. And we see the Gragas Senna again in game 2 here. And it's just a very similar draft overall. You have the lane bully for parry difference yet again on the Akali. And, Stuck Gaming just kind of roll over their opponents whenever they have such a big skill difference.
Yeah, I liked the Silas more than I liked the Gnar, just because it theoretically holds up better against Akali, and in lane it did hold up better. I mean, Silas was 100% kill participation, and he was responsible for both of Akali's deaths in this game too. Um, but of course, the rest of the map, the Sivir Taric didn't hold up too great against the Graves, especially since it seemed like Stuck Gaming just kept coming bot whenever they could get their hands on something. The Ivern, weird choice.
Yeah, definitely. Ivern into Graves is a super rough matchup because of how fast Graves farms the jungle and can farm your jungle as well. While you're Ivern in the early game, still waiting for your passives to go off on the camp so you can take it, and you can't really do anything against the Graves. So definitely tough for them. I feel like in their composition overall as well, they lacked a lot of damage. So maybe fixing the draft in the future for Divine Ascension White might get them some more wins because this is a very scaling comp. You have to wait a really long time for your damage to come online.
Yeah, and at that point, I mean, 300 CS Sivir is always a theoretical win condition, but when you're playing against someone who is known for taking over games through top lane and just running it down, you're never going to get to that win condition. So Stuck Gaming does move to 3-0, I believe. Yep, yeah, 3-0, and that's against Return of the Middle Sticks and GSM. So that's not like they're playing against the predicted bottom teams and beating them soundly. They're beating really good teams, really good, like already proven teams, really soundly.
And now we can move to the other team who is 3-0, question mark XD, who actually had a very exciting series against GSM in week 3.
Yeah, so the first game, they won games 2 and 3, so the quote-unquote reverse sweep, but GSM did take game 1, and it looked really good for them. I mean, the Kog'Maw Lulu draft here for question mark XD was a little bit sus, just because Kog'Maw Lulu, not super meta, and also just hasn't worked out well historically recently. I liked the Ivern with it, just feeling a little more Juggermaw and a little more Protect the Kog'Maw, but I think the Wukong and the Syndra were two parts that they just couldn't get through.
Yeah, having the Akali and the Syndra matchup was a little rough as well when she saw the Akali not getting ahead and taking Ignite as well. Definitely a struggle for question mark XD in this early part of the game and forced them to heavily rely on this Kog'Maw Lulu, which just wasn't enough to be able to cut through, the Ornn Wukong Syndra, like you said. They had the dive potential, which I really liked, onto the Aphelios, but GSM's draft overall was just very balanced, very solid, and they had the engage, they had the peel, they really had all the tools that they needed to win. And it seemed like they just had better team play. You can see they grabbed all the objectives. They were very solid in the early game, kind of shutting out question mark XD completely.
Yeah, that seemed like a fairly accurate assessment of the entire series. Even in Game 2, GSM still did fairly well playing around bot. They just lost the fights.
Yeah, and you can see in game two, GSM ran back pretty much the same exact draft. The only difference is having the Caitlyn instead of the Aphelios, even though, well, Aphelios was picked up by question mark XD, so they had to pivot to something else. But the Aphelios Bard was a very successful bot lane for question mark XD.
Yeah, it worked super well. I mean, they Curbstomp played out of his mind on the Bard. This was very obviously like pick him up and pick him off comp. You have Lee Sin, Ari, and Bard, all really, really good at finding the carries or even the tanks of GSM in this game, and then just locking them down, killing them before the team fight can start. And Curbstomp was using his ultimate on cooldown just to pick off Braum, pick off Syndra, take flashes even, and it ended up working just phenomenally here for question mark XD.
Yeah, and then we move on to game three, right, where it was pretty messy from question mark XD, even though they did pick up a win. We can see the gold graph just kind of varying wildly. A lot of big team fights for GSM that kept them in, but in the end, question mark XD was able to pick it up off the back of their bot lane.
Yeah, this game, as far as win conditions go, they were two completely different, or two opposing win conditions. Question mark XD had that central carry. Just they wanted Aphelios to be able to shred through the entire enemy team. GSM, on the other hand, between the Set, Sejuani, Echo, and the Nautilus, all four of those are just focused on find the main carry, lock him down, kill him, win the team fight. And it just kind of seemed like it would go back and forth and back and forth, but by the end of the day, question mark XD played their win conditions a little bit better. They just had a little more disengage, and they created that space where Aphelios could win these team fights pretty much on his own.
Yeah, and I really like the composition that GSM drafted into this Aphelios, knowing that they need to get on top of him. They have dive in almost every role, and they have the point and click CC from the Nautilus, but the peel from the Janna, which is really too much. You have the Lissandra and the Lee Sin peel as well, but Curbstomp playing just so immaculately this game. We can see that he even has his own 3K gold lead over Catalyst 7401. And the bot lane difference in this game specifically gives me a lot of hope for question mark XD, who plays a lot very heavily through their bot lane. And we can see that through one of the stronger teams, through in one of their harder series in the regular round robin, they were able to carry through their bot lane.
Yeah, and the carrying through bot lane thing didn't actually have me convinced here for question mark XD, at least before I saw how the games went. But I've always seen GSM as kind of a if the enemy team tries to play through bot lane and win the late game through bot lane, GSM's going to have you beat, because even if GSM isn't specifically playing like get Jinx hyper rolling, they're still going to find it somehow. But I know they say he changed his name, but I think we need to get Rito Torchic back. This Ian Hong guy, he isn't living up.
Yeah, definitely some underperformance so far this split from the Eon Hong / Rito Torchic, but we hope to see him pick it up later in the split. He is one of those. I feel like looking at his history in the GRLCS, he underperforms a little bit in the early part of the split and then starts really hard carrying towards the end part of the split.
Yeah, that's a playoff buff. The moment the stakes get into it, he starts picking it up. But GSM, they have a lot of room to work with. Question mark XD, they've got nothing but momentum, but GSM, they can pick themselves up, dust themselves off, and I mean there's still a lot of playoff spots on the table. It's top 4 goes, so I believe that's actually all the games that we have.
Yeah, and for the bye this week, I believe it was let me double check. I think it was MG.
Yep, MG Eclipse here having their bye this week. Next week, Return of the Middle Sticks has their bye, so I don't know if that means anything. Oh, the interesting one, the Battle of the Undefeated Teams, SG versus XD. This will be an interesting one to see because it's fairly fairly close in my mind. XD plays a little more individually, just kind of has just really good individual players playing the game together and finding a common ground to work on. SG kind of runs the same composition with the same goal in mind every time. They're like a machine, but I'm wondering if that machine can, change out some parts if it needs to.
Yeah, in terms of the SG XD matchup next week, I predict SG in a 2-1 over XD. Just because of the team play of Stuck Gaming, right? We know that they have identified their team identity. We talked about how they're a machine, but I feel like they're just going to be able to play better as a team than XD. So I definitely have them 2-1 over.
Yeah. And of course, they've been together as a team longer. They are the former Dog with Hack gang. XD is Mechanical Reaper's back from a long he's back from a long hiatus, so that's just the first one to say. But yeah, MGE versus Divine Ascension White. Nothing really to write home about there. I'm still trying to get my bearings on MG Eclipse, and while Sensei Squad did have a good win this week over Return of the Middle Sticks, still not fully convinced that they're all here all together.
Yeah, I predict a 2-1 for MG Eclipse. I think that this might be the one game that Divine Ascension wins so far in the split. And then I predict a 2-0 for GSM over Sensei Squad. Even though they've been able to pick up some wins, I don't expect any surprises here. Shiny Bidoof in the jungle should be able to outperform. Hate is heavy for Sensei Squad, so it might just be another of jungle difference yet again.
Yep. So that leaves us with all of the games recap. Next week's previewed a little bit, so now I believe it is time for the clip of the week. Here, let me share my screen with you just so that we're not. Here we go.
All right.
Now, clip of the week. Let's see. How many did we have this week? A lot. We had a lot. And they're all from Mikado. The sequel to the clip of the week last time, which was a giant Shurima shuffle, this time is called That Shuffle, though, 2.0.
And dunked him into the dirt. And now Water Bear has to flash away. X-Craze coming through, but he doesn't have the mana for the Shurima shuffle. X-Craze gonna have to use the cleanse.
I remember this one! Oh god. I thought that it would be such a big play. I saw him move forward, and then he just stopped.
Yeah, he definitely ran out of mana. He just ran out of mana there. It's pretty unfortunate not being able to finish your combo by misestimating the amount of mana you have. I've definitely done it a few times as well.
See, I never do that because I play Nautilus. He never runs out of mana. And also I just die, a lot.
Forcing here?
This is the second one, and it's just Ikado's backdoor against GSM. He just goes for it. It's like Xpeke, but
A Fed Echo, yeah.
Yeah, it's like Xpeke, except no one's paying attention for the first half.
Yeah.
Then,
okay, so some more from Mikado here.
The Wombo, what happened?
Making sure that Return of the Middle Sticks loses out on some stuff, but no, this goes all wrong here, and it's going to take Water Bear a great steal. He's coming in. Is he going to be able to find it? No, he won't. The ultimate is going to be used, but oh my god, what a Wombo combo. That's 3 picked up already. Vbon will find the kill onto Water Bear, but damn, that's a 4 for 2.
Kind of a textbook Wombo combo there. I mean, you just get a 4-man Ornn ult onto the onto the Graves and Rise. It's just, that's it.
V-Bon.
Yeah. I feel like we
And
should
now
be,
it's
play
another
by play
full-on
music. It feels a little
5v5
boring
between
just
both teams.
watching
Black
that.
Salt gets knocked up.
Yeah.
Jack loves Lamp, though. He is going to get stunned. Boosted Asian trying to move away from the Gnar. The Gnar is going to find a kill onto Ari Panda. Water Bear trying to get away. He is going to go down to the Ash. Aikado re-engages. He's going to go into the Blob passive. Midnight Slushy and Jack loves Lamp so low. That's going to be X-Craze having to get away. Aikado! He gets out of the passive, and now it's a 2-for-1, and Boosted Asian uses his Q right into the middle of Black Salt's shield. Flashes train.
Is that a like an outplay clip or just a you should focus the blobs?
Yeah, I feel like they pretty unfortunate. They did not focus on the blobs at all.
Look,
Yeah,
guys,
got-
this is
got a
this is
victory.
playing against Zach 101. Kill the damn blobs. You're not gonna. I mean, you're not winning. You're not winning any fights if the jungler just walks away. And then game 3, final clip from Aikado here. The penultimate fight.
This one from
I just poke, I just poke.
Outplay.tv
Shields down, Morgana
instead
shields
of the
down.
Twitch. So now,
Morgana
okay,
shields
yeah,
down. Yeah, go, go, go.
I think that might be it.
I have them all. I have them all. I have them all.
Ooh.
Rise,
Yeah,
rise,
that's
rise.
pretty really great engage from Aikado here. He finds the 2 members that he needs.
Let's go Orn.
Yeah, that was kind of like summing up every fight for summing up every fight over the last 5-7 minutes here, where it was like, yeah, we can just engage here and Rise can't do anything because he just he's no longer fed enough to kill all of us in one hit.
Yeah, but really great job from Water Bear there, who actually put out the smoke screen so that Aikado could not secure the dragon. You can see that his vision on his screen personally went out, so he didn't have the ability to actually smite it, and Water Bear was able to secure it, but Aikado just winning the team fight overall.
Yeah, that was really smart. Did Black Salt put together a... No, is this just a
Flash
single clip?
Ultimate for just
The-
one
the
combat
Black
summoner
Salt
now.
diff. I think he
Ari Panda
1v2s
tanking
here.
turret Is going to get not going to get knocked up. Oh, and the last tick of Ignite is going to find him. Black Salt with the solo kill, 3-0.
No, it's just the one kill, but this was the game where Black Salt was 7-0 at one point. It was the entirety of Return of the Middle Sticks' gold lead. And finally, Diamond Return of the Middle Sticks. So apparently Return of the Middle Sticks is going to win Clip of the Week this week. Because it's like 5 clips from their Platinum team and 1 from their
Charge
Diamond
coming
team.
in. They're already chunked out though. They're just gonna kill Maximus, I guess. That's the big goal. That piercing arrow does so much.
Oh,
Plus
wow,
the
he's so tanky.
barrage, the chain of corruption's actually slowing everybody. They didn't find Maximus, and now the rest of the team can collapse. They'll find Will I Ever Quit. Tendies jumps forward. They couldn't finish anybody off in any reasonable amount of time. Double kill.
I kind of want that to be Clip of the Week, just because Meristematic sounds so disappointed and desperate at the same time that Sensei Squad just wasn't able to finish off the singular Alistar.
Yeah, he was just so tanky at that point in the game. Super unfortunate. It was just very amusing the difference in health between the 2 supports, because you saw the Lulu get locked down, just immediately get popped by the Poke Varus.
Yeah, that was a
On the other hand,
50% Varus
Alistar-
Q.
Yeah, yeah, pretty. Yeah, there's not much to say there. It's just Lulu and Alistar and having that difference in the mid game.
Yeah, so I think if I had to pick 3, it's this one, because just Alistar difference. The Wombo combo, for just, good team fight play, and then the Shurima shuffle for just complete comedy.
Yeah, I think those are my 3 as well. I feel like all the other clips were just kind of, it was a little bit uneventful.
Yeah, and, nothing that you can do if there's not super eventful moments, or if you just don't want to go back through. Does the chat have anything to weigh in? Or, honestly, I don't have a 3-sided coin, but I have a 6-sided die that I can figure out which of the 3, because, I mean, the Shurima Shuffle was just hilarious when I casted it. The Wombo combo is a nice play. And then Alistar not dying is unfortunate and a little bit of a comedic clip. Alright. Fine, I'll do it myself. And the winner for this week, congratulations again, Ikato. It's your Shurima Shuffle. Well, I suppose, congratulations, X-Craze. It's Ikato's clip of your Shurima Shuffle.
Or lack thereof.
Yeah, the Shurima Shuffle 2, which is really like Shurima Shuffle 1/2. He gets half the combo off and just, you know, botches it. But yeah, so that is our clip of the week. Remember, all of the clips of the week are going to be pinned, and they'll probably be pinned as long as the rest of Summer Splash is going on until we do a clip of the week for Fall Split, if we have one. So check them out, Ari Panda's Platinum Division KS compilation against Business Time. We've got the original Shurima Shuffle, and then the second or 1.5th Shurima Shuffle, both courtesy of X-Craze. But I believe that is all we have here, unless you want to cast a game or you want to do it tomorrow.
Let me think. We can go and cast a game.
Okay, so my first thought in terms of casting, if I wanted to cast any game, probably the Question Mark XD games. Those seemed pretty interesting.
Did you want to do the entire series or just one of the games that Question Mark XD?
Let's just do one of them. Game 2 or Game 3.
It's up to you. I didn't preview either of those games, so
Okay.
Whichever.
Let's do Game 3. I think that one kind of had the smartest play in it. It was a little more you know, the team fights were clean and made sense, which always feels good. If the damn thing will load.
It definitely was. It's an exciting gold graph for Game 3, so that's what I like to.
Yeah, I really did think that Question Mark XT was going to lose a couple of them. So, we are swapped over, but first... Now I have to figure out, okay, that's Question Mark XD and GSM. On the red side... Alright, and I believe we're in
For the game between Question Mark XD and GSM, Game 3 here.
Yeah, and let's get right underway. We can go and introduce the teams, even though we did talk about them pretty extensively. On the blue side, we have Question Mark XD in the top lane. Mechanical Reaper back from his many split-long hiatus in the GRLCS. We have Doc in the jungle, returning on the Lee Sin. Fiction in the mid lane on Lysandra, former Sensei Squad player, and now moving to a top team. And Let's Have Fun and Curb Stomp in the bot lane on Aphelios and Janna.
Yeah, meanwhile, on the red side, we do have Gecko Slammer, Armageddon, General Vici in the top lane on Set, the Shiny Bidoof in the jungle on Sejuani, Ivenifer in the mid lane on Echo, and Ian Hong and Catalyst 7401 on Kaisa and Nautilus. So,
all right, and before we get too far into this, we got to clarify between the two of us. Do you want to do play-by-play or color?
Oh, you're giving me the freedom of choice, which of... Are you in practice enough to do play-by-play? I don't know.
I might be in practice enough. I don't know. It's been a while, but it'd be fun. I guess I'll do play-by-play.
Oh, let's hit it, because I've done enough analysis on this game that I will not sound like an absolute moron talking about it. So here we go. I'm going to be the Vedius. Also, LEC and LCS are back this coming weekend, so I am hyped.
Yes, very hype, especially with all the LEC promos. Very amusing stuff that they've come up with.
Did you watch this morning's that they dropped?
Yes.
All of the different casters. If you haven't, I fully recommend you go see that. It's probably on Twitter somewhere. But I think the early game is fairly slow in this game. Oh, have you seen the new promo for? Have you seen the new promo for the pool party skins?
Yes, I have, and I do not have any speculations. Probably, I just know one for sure is Oriana and then the Talia on both ends, respectively.
Yeah, I think the current, at least in the at least in the GetRec Discord, the current predictions are Heimerdinger for the short one, because the thing floating in the pool looks like a turret. Either Pantheon or Xin Zhao, and then we're trying to figure out whether it's like LeBlanc or Syndra, because the cape versus the volleyball.
Yeah. And Syndra's gotten a lot of she hasn't gotten a lot of love. I think they just had her join the 1,000-day without a skin club with Star Guardian Syndra, so it might be due time for another skin. Now having that pool party skin is always nice.
Yeah, that would. And I mean, LeBlanc just got Elderwood, I think, so, or and wait. Been playing this game for so long that I have no clue what what time is anymore, because when you said Syndra was 3 years ago, I was like, oh no. Okay, she just got Coven. Yeah, Coven LeBlanc. So it's probably Syndra then, right? Because the volleyball's kind of a giveaway.
Yeah, most definitely. Now we can see some nice early game jungling from the Shiny Bidoof. He's actually going to take away that top scuttle, get transition over with the mid prio from Venifar onto Fiction. He's trying to freeze this wave. He's gonna be super unsuccessful right here because of the minion DMAT from Venifar. So now just a transition to the bot side. The problem is bot priority is not there. Here comes Doc going in. And Fiction on his way as well. First blood goes over to Shiny Bidoof. Now they're looking for more. Curb Stomp, not going to find the Tornado. It's a double kill over for Shiny Bidoof. And now Curb Stomp's in trouble. Going to get potentially stunned up, but finds the flash away. An easy 2-0 for GSM.
That was a really good flash there over the wall in order to dodge away from the Time Winder. But unfortunately for Fiction, it didn't work out. Ended up dying. And Shiny Bidoof now 2-0 against Doc, who's on Lee Sin. Lee Sin usually is going to be much more aggressive early game, but now with the advantage, Shiny Bidoof can do something, and General Vici flashes in place to secure the solo kill.
Yeah, well, I don't know if it was a necessary flash, but I might have gotten him that extra auto range he needed, but pretty big lead so far from GSM. It was definitely a forced play from XD. Fiction just not having that priority and being pretty low on health, trying to match the mid jungle pressure of Shiny Bidoof and Venifar. After it was a pretty big wave he sacrificed to crashing into his tower. Now Venifar gonna trade pretty heavily. He has the corrupting potion, gonna use 2 stacks of that pretty immediately.
Yeah, the rotate
on the Nautilus in view.
No way.
Flash in, he finds the ignite. Here comes Doc though. Connects the Sonic Wave. Catalyst jumps too far forward. Let's have fun. Trades one back for his team.
Yeah, I mean, Curb Stomp barely getting away there, and Catalyst overextending just a little bit. Doc was definitely in the right place at the right time, but now he might be all in the wrong here.
Yeah, Doc gonna get stunned up, taken down pretty quick. Now let's have fun. Extending a little far. The tornado from Curb Stomp gonna save him for a bit, but we can see General Vici putting the hurt on Mechanical Reaper. He has that level advantage, knows he has a showstopper available. Gonna force Mechanical Reaper off of that way.
Yeah, now a 13 CS lead, 14 here for General Vici, as well as that extra solo kill. He is going to be significantly stronger, and he's going to be able to zone away Mechanical Reaper from the wave, and hopefully for as long as possible, so that, never mind, he just got 6 as I was talking. But now the Dragon is going to go over to GSM. They get that early pressure since they were able to force Doc away. Yeah, it's already looking like a good early game here for GSM, especially since their comp is basically made for diving and picking.
Yeah, and Cal's going to be able to clear away some of their the bottom side vision, as Doc's actually going to transition top side of the map, most likely. We'll see if he ends up ganking towards the bot side before he transitions over, because he's finishing up his red buff right now. Raptors have spawned, and his Krugs are on the timer about to spawn. So if he wants to get some efficient pathing, he would head up towards the Raptors or down towards the Krugs, and then do either one, transition over potentially, or just stay on the bot side of the map completely, or even take it back. He's starting to fall behind this early game compared to Shiny Beauty. We can see that's a 11 CS lead. Now, another 4 CS over the Shiny Beauty. He picks up that blue buff, which he doesn't give over to Venifar, who's actually pretty low on mana in this early game. He picked up the double amp tones, has the corrupting potion to heal back some of that, but he doesn't have any other mana regen other than the corrupting potion, really.
Yeah, and now he is also out of corrupting potion stacks, so he's gonna have to be fairly stringent with his mana. As I said, he spends about half of his remaining mana. However, that does secure enough pressure that Shiny Bidoof can pick up that Scuttle Crab, and now they're gonna try and sneak away this blue buff, or just kill Doc while he's at it. This is a good takeaway, and Venifer even gets his blue buff. Good guy jungler.
Yeah, he gets his own blue buff. He says, oh, my bad, let me just take the other one for you, and leashes it over for Venifar, who's going to be able to bully out Fiction pretty hard here. So finds himself a nice CS lead, kind of finding his lead in the early game. Here comes Curb Stomp, getting engaged on, going to be forced away. Here comes Ian Hong with the ultimate, going to come in, secure that kill, but can they get Let's Have Fun? They can't in time now. Catalyst on the run, we can see outputting so much damage. Flash forward, going to help him secure the kill, and it's a double for Let's Have Fun.
Man, that was a good engage by Catalyst, and then he pulls the trigger with that Ignite, and I think kind of forced Ian Hong's hand. A little unfortunate considering it didn't look like the bot lane of GSM was particularly ready to take that 2v2, and now it looks like Venifer is going to get solo killed out by Fiction. Too many turret shots.
Yeah, he ulted back into turret range. I don't think he expected to be back in turret range once he ulted, because he did have the flash available too. I feel like he could have bought just a little bit more time and then ulted, but in full ace with CC from Lissandra, the Ice Queen, and pretty unfortunate for Venifar, but he's going to be able to a kill traded over to Fiction, though, is going to help him a lot in this lane. He's starting to fall behind, and he fairly even out with that kill, but here lane going to go, or just gets taken down by the showstopper. Let's Have Fun. Still on the bot side, but support roams up towards the top side of the map. Play back from XD, knocks him back, and now General Vici in trouble. Maker outputs some damage, but it's not going to be enough, and he's going to get taken down as well.
And that is just a good fight there for XD. Doc finally gets to do something on the map using that pressure generated by Fiction's solo kill. He will be able to take that Rift Herald, picks a first objective of the game for XD, and then, of course, in that beautiful 3-for-1 trade, they managed to pick up Venifer, Shiny Bidoof, General Vici. Oh wait, no, it was just a 2-for-1. My bad. But they do manage to pick up both of those kills, as well as the additional Rift Herald. It is, starting to stabilize that a little bit. GSM had that early lead, but it's pretty much flat now. It was at about 1.5, now it's about 1k. It's been sitting there for a little while. Though, 50 seconds, there is another Drake coming up, and I'm sure with how active these early game, these junglers have been in the early game around these objectives, we will be seeing another fight soon.
Yeah, so Dragon spawning, some early vision being secured for GSM as they rotate their members over. Mechanical Reaper should have his teleport off cooldown about the same time as General Vici, but it's actually going to be off cooldown just a little bit sooner. So if XD can somehow find that small window of opportunity and use it to be able to secure that dragon fight, then it could be a big point of success here in the early game for XD.
Yeah, now the gank, though, in the mid lane, not going to get anything of significant substance, but teleport just came up for Mechanical Reaper, just about to come up for General Vici. Now it's kind of a Mexican standoff of sorts, where you have to wait to make sure that the other guy isn't going to be able to get in range of you. So it looks like neither of them is going to teleport, and GSM is just going to get their hands on this Drake. Wow, Rift Herald goes down in the mid lane, and Venifer maybe steps a little too far forward.
Yeah, he's going to go in and try to stop some damage onto the turret, but Doc's in trouble now, as well as Fiction. He's running catch the dredge line onto the jungler XD, and they're looking for more. Fiction on the run up towards General Vici, though, has nowhere to go. Showstopper going to take him down and hand the kill over to Venifer.
Yeah, so overall, a not favorable trade here for XD. They give up the dragon, expecting to be able to get something, potentially the whole turret. Instead, they only get 2 plates, a third here in the bot lane, but then lose 2 members, and they're going to give up, certainly, at least a plate here, possibly 2. GSM is now a solid 2k ahead, so they give up a lot of pressure and a lot of gold for that trade.
Yeah, bot lane of these two now moving in. Teleport coming in as well, not going to be matched by anybody. He's going in, potentially. Ignite come down, not going to be able to put enough damage onto him, but here comes the engage from Doc on Shiny Beauty. Ran out of energy, though, right as he went in. Now they might be looking, trying to force down this turret. They're going to lock up Eon Hong, and he has nowhere to go, but falling to... Let's have fun. I'm sorry, falling to Curb Stomp, who actually gets the shutdown. It's pretty unfortunate overall.
Yeah, pretty unfortunate, but overall, it is good to see that Fiction actually got something out of that teleport. You know, it's an assist and it's turret gold, but still, it would have been really hard to have to walk back to lane, having given up pressure. I mean, he's already down 20 CS here. Having to give up that much more pressure, that much more power in the lane to get nothing, when you can at least come back with some of the gold afforded by a turret and an extra kill, as well as getting your team further ahead. That's much easier to stomach, and now Venifer has moved into the bot lane to try and hold here, keep and catch these waves and make sure that there's no wasted gold while both bot lanes rotate mid. Looks like this is going to be the next target, although turret plates aren't really on the board anymore. They're going down in 10 seconds.
Yeah, so we can see how much XD is playing through their bot lane, right? They expend a lot of resources to be able to keep them in lane, let them get the turret plates that they need early, and actually keep them a lot of safety. They got the 2v2 kill, which is extremely good at helping them in this early part of the game. And now Fiction giving up some CS as well to rotate down and help them with the teleport. But Venifer might be in trouble, but Fiction doesn't do that much damage. He's in a pretty early game with Sandra. Venifer, you're going to try to trade some back. He goes to half health, but here comes Curbstop, might be caught out. Uses the ultimate to be able to appeal for himself. And now moving back off of the Rift Herald, Fiction gonna go back in, potentially takes the claw back out. You can see that Mechanical Reaper is expended TP as well, so GSM might be able to get this Rift Herald in topside, or at least trade it, but Venifer in a bad spot. TP going to be expended by GSM. General Vici on the way, but can he buy enough time? Venifer doesn't have the ultimate. General Vici gonna pull him back in, but here comes the feed. Mechanical Reaper goes in for more, and now the Showstopper on the Fiction might be able to pick him up. General Vici taking some turret shots. He's gonna go back in. Here comes the flash, the double kill, but here comes Doc gonna flash him and kick him into the turret range. Very easy pickup, but overall it's a 2 for 2 for both teams.
Yeah, maybe it wasn't super necessary to flash kick there for Doc, but still, style points are everything. That was a good, good pulling the trigger there by XD. They were gonna try and just kind of slow roll it in, pick up Venifer, do whatever they can, and find something there to make sure that GSM doesn't just get pressure off of that used teleport. But then, seeing that the teleport was coming in, and Ian Hong might be in trouble, definitely in trouble. He's dead.
Yeah, he's gonna get caught out for sure right there, and the shield from the ultimate wasn't enough to withstand the damage from Let's Have Fun, who really is performing on this Aphelios. 4-1 already picked up, 4-0-1 already picked up the IE as well at 15 minutes, now pushing into this mid lane turret, gonna force General Vici to respond.
But yeah, speaking of General Vici, it was his teleport where XD, their mid-top, just said, okay, we definitely need to pull the trigger here, kill Venifer as soon as possible, and then we can fight 2 separate 2v1s instead of having to just fight a 2v2. Unfortunately for them, a lot of their CC was used, the ultimate from Lissandra, the ultimate from Urgot, and General Vici was just able to punch him down because set is fairly good at just running people down when they don't have any CC to zone or to peel. So GSM still stays even here, and with their potential third Drake coming up, this could very well be a large-scale team fight since everyone is down here.
Yeah, this will be the deciding team fight in the mid game, and Venifar trying to get the move on the Fiction. Fiction gonna take the claw away, taking a lot of health, and Venifar still chasing him down. Meanwhile, right here, they're looking for the engage. Catalyst doesn't hit the dredge line as the rest of XC starts to get zoned away from this dragon. They can't afford to give this over to GSM though. They might try to make the trade for the mid lane turret, but it will be a mistake. Now Cloud Dragon going low. Doc looking for the steal. Fiction on the side, gonna go in and heal himself up in the glacial tomb. And now the chaos surrounds as the Drake is stolen by Let's Have Fun. They look for more. Catalyst finds the engage on the Mechanical Reaper, but look how much damage he's outputting. They find the shutdown on General Vici, and the XD starting to roll over the rest of GSM. Young Hong gonna be forced to flash towards the tail end of the fight, and a very successful win for XD.
XD, they had the better position around that dragon because they could walk in. It's not that much of a challenge for them to walk in. They had it warded out. It's not like they were playing against Vision, and Doc has a lot of opportunities and avenues to get into that pit to try and steal away, even if it comes to that. The fact that they had the inside track to that mid lane turret meant that they forced GSM to take that dragon. Then, as the dragon started getting taken, that's when the team fight broke out. Let's Have Fun was able to grab the Cloud Drake in the middle of the chaos, and then the fact that Fiction drew so much, so much in terms of cooldowns, Catalyst just using his ultimate the moment that Fiction and Doc both jumped in, it meant that that was part of GSM's win condition here is locking down Let's Have Fun. Not having your big point-and-click CC, well, you're not really playing to that nearly, and now Let's Have Fun, he's not going to be punished, but Catalyst may be.
Yeah, Moonlight Vigil comes out, doesn't find any significant CC, but Catalyst first one to fall. Fiction on the backside finds the TP, but he's not going to take the claw. They're looking for Shiny Beauty. If they're going to stun him up and take him down with the Urgot's ultimate. Now they're pushing in for more. GSM just getting outplayed there by the Fiction teleport is very, very well played by the team of XD. Now they're looking for the inner tower in the mid lane. Not enough wave clear here between Venifar and Ian Hong. Really safe wave clear to be able to stop them from doing this, and now that they're going to rotate back and kind of just slow down the pace of the game. There's no major objectives up for a little bit, so they're going to have to trade away that bottom lane turret, but they might be rotating over for General Vici. He's going to be able to take the recall in time. They're looking for the blue buff now. Fiction just gonna give it away to Venifar. He decides he doesn't want it. He can afford to be a low econ mid laner for just a while more.
Yeah, the overstay would just be a bit too greedy here. And XD, they don't want to overextend now that they found an actual gold lead here in this game. This would reminder, this is game 2 of 3, so GSM did win game 1, which means XD likely is playing much more cautious. They don't want to just throw away a late game lead, so the fact that they are playing a little bit slower, as you said, they're locking down the pace of the game a little bit and kind of biding their time. This works with their mental, and it works in their favor. And also, since Let's Have Fun is so strong, when they get these leads, as you saw with how quickly that inner turret went down in the mid lane, he's strong enough that they can burn these objectives once they have control of them. They just don't want to take fights willy-nilly, while still Mechanical Reaper is a little bit behind General Vici. Fiction may not be doing as much damage as Venifar, and of course, Nautilus just does better early game, and early game into the mid game at starting and surviving these team fights than Janna does.
Yeah, you can see them start to match the side lanes as well. Fiction and Mechanical Reaper just constantly locked into these side lanes. It's a very much a 1-3-1 game from GSM, right? They know they have the leads in their side lanes, significant CS advantages, some kill advantages, as well as they're playing through their bot lane for XD. But here comes the rotation of the XD bot lane into the top, trying to look for the play onto Venifar, but Shiny Beauty might be caught out here. Curvestop gonna find the knockup. He tries to get away, not enough dashes though. Gargoyle Stoneplate going to be activated. Glacial Prison locks him up, as well as the depths below from Nautilus, but Shiny B2 finally goes down. Teleport expended by Mechanical Reaper. Now they're looking for the dive onto Venifar. He has Splash available, has the teleport. Will they be able to find him though? He finds the safety of his turret. Mechanical Reaper takes one too many turret shots, and he's going to go and back out this one. However, this turret might not be so lucky for GSM. And Venifar may not have enough time to wave clear before he gets stoked. He's going to have to back away, and another turret take for question mark XD.
Oh, yeah, looks like Fiction. He'll probably stay for the next one, but that was Shiny Bidoof, coming up, trying to punish Fiction. He was obviously coordinating with Venifar there, and you saw the parallel convergence dropping on top of Fiction, but then Let's Have Fun was there. He actually had the damage to tear through the Shiny Bidoof, even after the Gargoyle Stoneplate got used. Fiction? Actually...
Yeah, some smooth moves from Fiction right there. Venifar thought he was going to take the claw, now the flaw. Not gonna be able to survive this, I don't think. Takes the jukes him again. Oh my goodness, he's gonna get away from this one, not get punished. Meanwhile, the Cloud Dragon being taken, Moonlight Vigil comes out, and Catalyst first won the fall. The Cloud Dragon gonna go over easily to question mark XD, who has really found their footing in the mid game.
Yeah, and they are doing this around the power of Let's Have Fun. I mean, Catalyst is kind of playing to those win conditions. He's trying to lock down that Fed Aphelios, but everyone else is just making sure that he is able to find these picks, find these kills, help his team get forward. And it just seems like GSM as a team aren't really addressing the fact that you can't try and fight against this, and every extra pick you give up on Nautilus is another pick, is another kill that goes to the enemy team, and it's not going to go in your favor as you get later and later. Mechanical Reaper is just going to get turned into this unkillable tank. I mean, Fiction has the Aftershock, so the Lissandra is already playing for these team fights and creating space instead of popping carries. And then, of course, Janna. The more she's able to buff Aphelios, the stronger Aphelios gets. It's math.
Yeah, and we can see that the objective for Fiction this game is just to buy enough time for Let's Have Fun to get into the fight and do some damage, and just play distract for a while, because Fiction knows he's not the carry of this team. He doesn't really need to do anything other than just play his role, and he needs to be able to CC some members, lock down some members, buy some time with his ultimate, and then make sure that Let's Have Fun has enough damage output to finish the fight for him. The problem is there's a lot of dive on the side of GSM, right? You have the Echo, you have the Sejuani, and the Nautilus, and the Kaisa as well. So it's going to be pretty difficult for Let's Have Fun to stay alive, but that's why Curb Stomp is here on the Janna. So really excellent draft from question mark XD to be able to play in the composition of GSM right here. Might find themselves some picks in this topside river, or might get picked off themselves if they're not lucky. Mechanical Reaper starting to go in. Doc lands Sonic Wave, pushes Catalyst back, but now Doc is in trouble. He's going taken low. And here comes the TP on the backside. General Vici coming to run in with that home guard buff. Not going to have enough speed to lock him up though, but the Glacial Prison well placed on the Let's Have Fun. They're going to be able to take him down and potentially get this Baron. But here we go, some nice ultimates being used. Mechanical Reaper going to pull in General Vici as well, and this fight has just turned around with question mark XD. Now Fiction moving in, doesn't have enough damage to finish this one off. Venifar going to get a double kill. Now Curb Stomp, the only one alive. The rest of GSM going to clear away some minion waves and get some quicker rotations and backs.
And GSM found a great fight there. They still only traded 3 for 4. I mean, they still gave up 3 kills, and I think this is kind of the composition of question mark XD, the amount of utility that Curb Stomp provides to his main carry, and the fact that that question mark XD have so far been so good at finding singular picks specifically onto Catalyst. I mean, basically GSM was fighting that 4v5. The depth charge didn't really do anything to engage the fight, and it was General Vici's teleport running in and then the Glacial Prison that actually caught Let's Have Fun. He still didn't die because Janna buffed him up so hard between the Monsoon and the Shield that Let's Have Fun was able to kill Ian Hong, which if Ian Hong hadn't died in that team fight, I certainly think that GSM with two men on the board could just have taken Baron there. So that's just another testament to how good, as you've been saying, the draft here for XD is at shutting down the divers in GSM's comp.
Yeah, so now things are starting to stabilize a little bit in this mid game. A lot of Baron control going over the XD, and now they're looking for the engage right here. Glacial Prison lands onto curb stop. He's in trouble. Monsoon comes down, and it will be enough to save him for now. Lee Sin shield on the way. Sonic Wave connects. He's going to go back in, try to find the re-engage, but knockback finds Catalyst. He's in trouble. Depth charge, the dredge line back to his depth. Dremel and Vici comes in and actually gets taken down immediately. He finds Curb Stomp, but it's not going to be enough to salvage this fight. Benefar on the side, going to use the ultimate to come back in. Let's have fun. In trouble right on top of the Echo. He goes golden, and now it buys some space, and Benefar going to get shut down. Meanwhile, Ian Hong on the side trying to trade a little bit back of damage, but the Baron going to be started up for question mark.
And these two team fights kind of are the exemplars of the difference between the perfect team fight that GSM could have taken off of an engage by XD versus engaging on the wrong person, blowing everything immediately, and you don't really, first of all, you're not even able to kill the support. Second of all, you're not on the correct target here. And it gives XD over the Baron. They don't lose anyone walking out. All 5 members here have that Baron buff, and they're going to be able to use this to great effect here at a 4K gold lead, 27 minutes, 50 seconds, and the 5th Cloud Drake on the map. GSM is going to start to go for it, but XD can rotate in fairly quickly. Or GSM going to be able to get out here is the question. The answer is yes. XD doesn't even go for it.
Yeah, XD just a little bit slow on the rotation, that dragon, which is natural just because of the pace of the game. They're going to have the inside track on this mid lane turret. Now moving forward, grouping as a team, they just need to find another engage, and they might be able to close out this game. The problem is their engage is pretty soft, all things considered, because they need to be able to buy time for their Aphelios to do damage, so they can't just burst somebody outright. This cannon minion going to be able to take down the turret. They're pushing in for the inhibitor now. We can see Venifar on the side. And now he's looking for an engage. The dredge line is available, looking for the Sandra potentially, but now he's going to take the claw out. They're just pressuring this inhibitor turret with these cannon minions right now, taking things nice and slow. They know they don't have to rush anything. Fiction goes in with the Proto Belt. They're not going to punish him at all. And XD picks up their first inhibitor of the game.
And see how Mechanical Reaper and Fiction there were kind of acting as minesweepers. After the melee minions went down and then the inhibitor turret went down, Let's Have Fun obviously wanted to move in and start to take that inhibitor, but he didn't know if he was going, if he was going to get flanked there by Yvenifar. So Fiction went in pretty deep onto that Echo just to see that he was there, make sure that no one else was kind of waiting in the wings and they were all going to jump on whoever moved out forward, because he has a little more survivability than the Aphelios. He's got the Frozen Tomb for himself. He's got the Claw out. It was a really, really smart play, kind of offering up a small bait so that they don't give away their white whale in Let's Have Fun. It does net them this middle inhibitor. It means that they're now about 5k ahead, and they use this Baron really well. They've still got 40 seconds on it. Not that there's going to be much left to do with it, but it is going to put GSM at a little more dancing on thin ice. They've got the super minions pushing in, and now they have to do something about it, or else the slow push will continue and XD will only get stronger.
Yeah, and XD off the back of a successful Baron push, now rotating towards the top side of the map, denying a lot of these jungle camps from GSM, but here comes the engage from them. The Tornado going to knock them up and disengage just a little bit. Fiction has caught Venifar on the side, going to off the back out instead. He knows he's not tanky enough to withstand all of this damage. Meanwhile, Shiny Beauty just looking for the perfect Glacial Prison. Find this engage, find the dive onto Let's Have Fun. Let's Have Fun now 9-1. He's going to be pushing forward for the second top lane inner turret, and now with the minion wave crashing pretty soon, rest of GSM not really there to defend. General Vici might have caught out Curb Stomp, or is he the one who's caught out? Moonlight Vigil comes out, and just look at that damage from Let's Have Fun. Ignite ticking, and it's not going to be enough to take down General Vici. Meanwhile, Fiction oversteps just a little bit. They need to take this turret, and they need to take this turret now. Fiction going to go gold and buy some time for Let's Have Fun. Just look at that damage output that Sonic Wave connect and takes down Catalyst for the 7th time this game. Venavar on the backside looking for Let's Have Fun, finds the dive but goes golden. Now Let's Have Fun buys the space he needs, and he's just pushing forward. Mechanical Reaper uses the ult. He still has the ultimate available, and he might be looking for something pretty soon. They're gonna look for this inner inhibitor turret, and finally the inhibitor, and they might be able to end here.
Yeah, with a 2-man disadvantage here, GSM is going to have to take a miracle fight. Shiny Bidoof is going to go in, but he can't do that much. But Peachy...
Yeah, Showstopper on the backside, and it's a big one. They take down 2 right now, and now Yeon Hong on the backside using the ultimate, trying to take down Doc and Fiction. He's going to find Fiction, potentially, but the flash away might buy him some time. Double kill for General Vici. Now Catalyst trying to redeem himself, finds the Dredge line, going to lock down Mechanical Reaper, and hand over that kill to General Vici for a triple.
Well, that certainly stopped XD's show. They're not going to be able to finish it out there, and that was a beautiful that was a game-saving team fight there by the 3 members of GSM that were available at the time. XD, they were super strong. They just thought they could go in and end, but they got a little bit sloppy, and it ended up costing them. Of course, they're still significantly in the lead. They've still got that double inhibitor advantage, and Let's Have Fun did play fairly out of position there. Earlier when he was against Ivanifar, he moved too far forward, got stunned, took a lot of damage there. So XD just has to regroup, make sure that this doesn't affect them, and walk in, kind of do the same thing. Play it a little bit safer, a little bit more measured, and not go so deep. But with this dragon up in 10 seconds, they need to take this to make sure that the soul is denied from GSM. That's one of the few ways that GSM can solidly get back in this game. So, XD has, they've completely zoned them off. GSM can see the dragon, but it doesn't really matter. They know that there's no way that they can take this. Aside from the Miracle Team Fighters, they're not finding 2 inhibitors down.
Yeah, so it is pretty rough so far for GSM because they have the Dragon Soul potentially right there, but off of some bad back timings, off some bad rotations, they weren't able to really get in it, and they ended up giving it away to XD, and it really prolongs the game and really throws it out of GSM's favor. They need to be able to get that Dragon Soul to really be able to cement any kind of lead in this game. You can see that they've been behind in the later part of the game for quite some time, and they need to find some miracle team fight at this point. They're significantly behind. The first inhibitor just now respawning, and the second inhibitor in the top lane just going to be pushing super minions into their base. They're going to have to send General Vici there constantly to be able to stop that. He does have the teleport available, and now he's going to have to match towards the bot lane with Fiction. Problem is, Venifar on the side, and now they're engaged coming right in. Shiny Bidoof going to be the first one out. Death charge onto Let's Have Fun, but look at that damage. There's just not enough from the side of GSM and too much from Let's Have Fun just solely. And now Venifar going to come back in. Fiction going to use his claw to be able to get out the showstopper. Not going to be enough to take him down, but they might look for the re-engage here. Mechanical Reaper starting to zone them away from the Baron, and now Shiny Bidoof heading back towards the base. He might be out of position for this Baron startup here. TP coming in from XD. It's going to be Fiction. Gonna help zone away the Shiny Bidoof here alongside Mechanical Reaper. But this Baron going down quick. Shiny Bidoof not range to be able to steal this one. Eon Hong trying to find something, gets knocked up by the Janna Tornado. Mechanical Reaper gonna zone them away. Here comes the Venifar. Does not have the ultimate quite yet. Gonna use it just now. Mechanical Reaper gonna resurrect off the Guardian's Angel. Now Shiny Bidoof gonna get taken down. Baron's gear already over to XD that are looking for the fight. Catalyst has the Sonic Wave on him. He's gonna connect it, and he's looking for the finish. Now Catalyst gonna get taken down. Here comes General Vici with a big flash. He finds the Haymaker. He finds what is needed to save this fight. Now GSM starting to run over the members of XD for an ace.
and that is the perfect team fight that GSM could have taken. It was looking super shaky early, but Mechanical Reaper wasn't in a position where he could help his team. He was only there to block the engage by Shiny Bidoof onto the Baron. After the Baron was taken, Shiny Bidoof in the pit, it didn't really matter. Mechanical Reaper went down, Shiny Bidoof died as well. Then fighting that 4v4, Let's Have Fun went way out of position going forward to try and kill General Vici. They ended up getting kills, but he was so far out of position at that point that it was too easy for Ian Hong to just jump right on top of him, and in that close range of a fight, in that 1v1, Kaisa is going to be able to beat Aphelios, even when Aphelios is super fed.
So right here, the Rabadon's completed for Eon Hong, now 7-4-1 on the Kaisa, starting to redeem himself from the early game. Now Dragon spawning in a minute 45. Both inhibitors have respawned for GSM. Now they're going to be moving towards the bot side river to be able to secure some vision. Now Catalyst moving over with the assist from his team might be able to provide enough vision for them to actually be able to secure this Cloud Dragon and the Cloud Soul. So we can see here that it's all going to come down to this last dragon fight. It's going to come down to one more team fight who can execute it better around this dragon, and it needs to happen right now for this vision being placed down by either team. You can see Mechanical Reaper on the side trying to look for a flank, but he's going to be largely unsuccessful as the bot lane of GSM just playing a little bit more wisely, going to back away. And they're now moving in towards the bot side river. Curb Stomp has all of his wards available, as well as the sweeping lens, 120 vision score compared to Catalyst. Now moving in, they need to be able to clear out some of this vision. They need to be able to create any kind of advantage they can for this next.
Yeah, and as you said, being able to create any kind of advantage is so important here, because as we just saw in that Baron fight, this is no longer at the point for XD where you can just do things wrong and still get it right, but they may have found the right engage.
Yeah, Redemption coming out, going to heal up Mechanical Reaper, but he's the first one to fall. But here comes Let's Have Fun, and the backline Fiction finds a big engage. Venifar on the backside, going to go back in. Gonna come Golden as well. He might just get locked down. The Claw coming in. Lysandra looking for the finish. Gonna root him up and take him down. Meanwhile, Eon Hong gonna trade back the kill, but here comes Let's Have Fun. Full health, has the GA available. Catalyst gonna go back in, try to lock him down, but will not find enough damage with the assistance of Eon Hong. Now, General Vici coming in. He was not there for almost the entire fight, was pushing in the top side, now moving in towards this Cloud Dragon. This is the pivotal Cloud Soul that either team needs to separate in this game. It's going to be started up by XD. They're moving away, going to grab the Honey Fruit to heal up Doc for the potential steal, but Let's Have Fun moving in. He's a little bit out of position, but not going to be punished because there's no real CC tools, and Eon Hong going to get caught out right here, shut down immediately. Cloud Dragon goes over the XD, and now they're looking for the finish. Shiny Bidoof gonna be forced to back away as he's gonna get chased down by Let's Have Fun. The inhibitors are going to be soon to fall, and the slow down from Curb Stomp gonna help secure it. Meanwhile, the rest of XD going to regroup, look for these inhibitors, and look for the end.
And that fight, the first part of the fight took out two of the major divers there for GSM. Venifar and Catalyst were both dead. Mechanical Reaper and Fiction, however, were two of the major zoners. Curb Stomp still provides a lot of peel, but Let's Have Fun. If Ian Hong's going to get right on top of you and General Vici's there too, Let's Have Fun isn't going to survive for super long, but then Ian Hong not having people to move forward for him, he moved forward first, he got punished for it. They were able to pick up that first kill. Doc saving out his team by stealing away that dragon with his own smite. He did have a level advantage, but that's still fairly impressive, and then they were able to pick up Shiny Bidoof on the end of it. Now, a minute left until third Baron comes up. It's about 40 minutes into the game, and with that middle inhibitor cracked back open, this gives XD more breathing room. They can afford to make small mistakes here rather than just ending the game off of the next mistake that anyone makes.
Yeah, so now some on the top side of the map. Curbstomp doing just such an excellent job on vision. We can see he's pushed his vision score to 127 compared to the 88 of Catalyst. But here comes the engage, the kickback from Lee Sin. Gonna catch out Catalyst, and this is disaster for GSM. This is not what they needed. They needed to be able to find this front-to-back team fight. They needed to be able to dive. But unfortunately, Catalyst caught out too many times this game. 0-10 on the Nautilus, as the rest of XD continues to push in. They're looking for the inhibitor. They will surely find it. Will they look for the end here, back up for the Baron? It looks like they're going to be able to push forward with this cannon wave, but there's too much wave clear from the side of GSM, and they're going to be prevented from ending right here and move back towards that Baron.
Yeah, trying to force the end of the game. We saw what happened to them last time. They actually lost and got aced in that team fight. But now it looks like they're going to try and set up this sneaky bush bait. There's no vision for GSM, and this is off the back of Curbstomp, making sure to clear that earlier, and they walk into disaster here.
Yeah, and immediately Shiny Beauty going to last a little bit longer. Activates the Gargoyle Stone Plate, but he's going to be able to get the wave for now. The re-engage from the rest of GSM will buy some time. They're going to go back in. Catalyst and Venifar, the last ones left, the saving grace for GSM. Will they be able to do it, or will Let's Have Fun just have his way with them? They move forward. They're both going to get taken down pretty quickly. Catalyst running towards the fountain for his life, but going to be taken down for the ace, like XD, who pick up the win in this pivotal Game 3 and pick up the series in Week 3, moving themselves at 3-0 in the GRLCS.
It took them a little while. It took them 42 minutes. XD. They had a few shaky team fights, and we saw that earlier when we were recapping the gold graph. But they did manage to pull it out. They played smart after, they learned from their mistakes even as the game progressed. And that's one of the marks of really good players on a good team, that they know how to check themselves before they wreck themselves, not just after.
Yeah, and big congratulations to XD, who was able to find this very it's a very important win that they found over GSM, because GSM kind of the team that you want to test yourself against. If you're better than GSM, you definitely belong at the top of the standings. If you're worse than GSM, then you're maybe middle of the pack at best. But they were able to find this 2-1 victory, and it was most part, as we said, it was a little bit shaky, but once they found their lead, they never really lost it. Even though GSM was able to find some of these fights in their favor, the gold lead never swung in their favor at any point in the mid to late game.
Yep. XD playing a measured game, making sure that they weren't punished too much for the mistakes that they made, the fairly few mistakes, mind you, and they will go to the 3-0 at the top of the standings, beating the sharpening block of Diamond GSM. They did not dull their blade here, so we'll have to see how all of the teams here in Diamond, and of course in Platinum, do this coming week here in Week 4 of the GRLCS Summer Splash. We will be back next Monday to recap the games as they happened. But for now, thank you for watching, everybody. I have been Vid, and joining me is Doulos. That's weird. But have a great night, and we will see you next Monday. Night-night.